So we are now recording, and welcome again to our community of Ontario mentors. I will turn it over to Arjun, who will discuss with us sustainable team finance and fundraising. And from there, we'll see where the discussion goes. Thank you very much, Arjun.
So I'm Arjun, and I'm representing Team 7902. I kind of have a few topics prepared here. I want to talk a bit about budgeting, a bit about kind of the team management related to fundraising, some key roles that we like to have on the team that kind of streamline the process internally. And then I want to jump into actually approaching new sponsors, things like a sponsorship package, emails, and also long-term retaining sponsors, how to maintain those good sponsor relations, how to hopefully sustain sponsors over multiple seasons. And we're coming at this kind of as a bit of a young, small team. We don't have a massive budget. We usually ballpark 15 to 20,000 annually. But I see there's also mentors here from more established teams, and so it'd be great if people could jump in, and especially from larger teams, kind of we can compare and contrast then the different strategies that are used by different sizes and I guess calibers of teams. But I kind of wanted to start with something called a Mentimeter, which one of the students actually brought it to one of the meetings, and kind of just take, I guess, taking some thoughts on sorry, one second. Sorry, yeah, taking some thoughts on what you want to get out of this talk, and we can kind of guide the discussion in that way. So I'm gonna put that in the chat. And so that's just open response, completely anonymous. And the question is basically, what do you want to get out of the session? And I have a few things prepared here, but I can jump around and I can kind of share things that are specific to the topics that everyone wants to see. Or feel free to just share in the chat. That's the anonymous way to do it. But if you just want to talk and share here, then I'd be happy to take the discussion that way. Anything specific? Otherwise, I'll just go through the plan I prepared. Strategy for Ontario teams to collaborate in creating sustainable finance and fundraising systems for their teams. Approaching new sponsors. Should sponsorships be a role of mentors or the students? Okay. Then, yeah, I think that's a good starting point. Yeah, the first two are kind of overall, but here's a good question. Should sponsorships be the role of mentors or the students? So I've been both a student on the team, and now I'm an alumnus and I'm a mentor for Team 7902. Overall, I found that mentors kind of have to take the lead role with sponsorships, just because, especially approaching new companies, a lot of companies don't take high school students seriously. They can have the best sponsorship package, the best approach email, but typically they're just ignored in the long term. And one of the most common things that happens is they just don't get email responses. They'll send follow-ups. And mentors tend to have better success with that. That being said, we always want to try to involve the students in these processes of getting sponsors and maintaining good sponsor relations, especially those who are more involved on the business side. It's a lot more difficult to find students who want to do the business side of FRC, especially with programs like DECA, but every once in a while there is one of those students, and it's always great if they could shadow a mentor and learn more about, I guess, some more PR side and more business side of an FRC team. So kind of I want to talk about, yeah, team management with that respect. One of the main key roles you should have is like a public relations mentor or like a sponsorship mentor, just one mentor, and they're the be all end all for getting sponsorship. They're the ones that when a new sponsor is likely to sponsor the team, they can be CC'd on emails, they can help move things along. When it comes down to the main season and getting sponsored deliverables, I guess, delivered, logo on the banner, logo on the robot, on t-shirts, and making sure those things are ordered on a timely basis, that mentor should be the be all end all. And I think a student should also be shadowing that mentor, and as the seasons progress, if they're on the team, kind of take more of a lead role in that area. But I think, especially with how important sponsorship and finance is to sustaining the team, it needs to be a mentor, because there are seasons where you might not have a student who's so interested or involved, but sponsorship is a must. And delivering these different sponsor deliverables is also a must. It's non-negotiable. So does that kind of answer the question of who's asked that? Yeah. That being said, there are other roles. Alongside someone coordinating sponsorship, you're going to want a graphic designer. I find that the students are often better at graphic design. A lot of them come into the team with pre-existing experience, and you definitely need someone who can put together a sponsor banner or design a team t-shirt. And that's all considered usually in the realm of branding, but it's also very important for long-term sustainability of the team, for retaining those sponsors, because that's the main deliverable that a lot of teams will offer their sponsors. Being able to put their logo on different parts of the team, a banner, robot, t-shirt, so on. And so you definitely want someone who's skilled in graphic design, and that could be a mentor again. But often students are able to take on that role, and often they're very, very good at that. And my approach typically with the business side of the team is mentors need to hold it up in seasons where you don't have students who are as interested, compared to say like the robot side of the team. The quality of the robot, or the amount of, I guess, skill that the students have, that might fluctuate over time. But since sponsorship and business is non-negotiable in terms of sustaining the team, there always needs to be a mentor, backup, be all end all who can support that side. Yeah, that's overall what I've found, at least. And I know there are teams that kind of have more advanced training, more advanced off-season training. One of the things our team struggles with is off-season training, just because it's difficult to find build space, difficult to meet in person before the season starts. And so typically I think we can improve on our training. But then there are amazing teams, of course, like 2056, and even on the engineering side, their students are always so competent, and they always come out with some amazing robots. So I think it varies by the team, but again, I'm just sharing a lot of what I found as my experience in a mentor. My experience mentoring this team, and just what I think that other teams could take away from this. And oh yeah, if you're just joining, there's something I put called a Mentimeter. Basically, you can enter and answer the question that I had posed, which is what everyone's looking to get out of this session, and I can kind of tailor it in that way. I guess one thing I wanted to ask about is a sponsorship package, because that's kind of like a central document that teams can use to approach new sponsors and even retain old sponsors. And often it's also a guiding document for the way that they approach sponsors, for the way that they market the team. Do all the teams here have sponsorship packages? If I just go around 7690, that's a no. No. Okay, cool. I think that's a good place to go from here then. Yeah, so I want to talk a lot about getting new sponsors and some of the different tools that we have in our toolkit for that, the process that we go through that. I'm gonna see if I'm able to share my screen. Yeah, I can. Okay. I'm gonna put the Zoom on. Oh, there we go. Okay, cool. Yeah, so I guess one of the prerequisites mainly to, oh yeah, that's my wallpaper. That's anyways. One of the prerequisites that often is for sponsorship package and putting together like a good sponsorship strategy is a brand identity. So I wanted to bring our new sponsorship package. This is new. We're kind of refining our brand identity as we go along. And so you'll notice we have colors that we use. Well, they're gradients. We have different fonts that we use, 2 different fonts, League, Spartan, and Fira Sans. And having kind of a cohesive and brand, like a standardized brand, makes it a lot easier to develop a sponsorship package, and also sponsors are more likely to spend time reading something that is more visually appealing, and that goes for any kind of documentation that the team is putting together. If it's more visually appealing, then it's more likely to be read and absorbed and taken seriously. And so you can kind of look through the sponsorship package. I'm going to go ahead and share a link actually to ours if you want to take a look. Where's the chat here? There we go. Can't see the video. Oops, sorry about that. Let me see. Is anyone else not able to see the video?
Right now, we just see your PDF.
Okay, I think no, that's fine. That's fine. I think video is what Jazzy meant. Okay, yeah. Yeah. So I just wanted to talk a bit about sponsorship package. One of the things we found is very good is having like a quick summary, just a one-page summary. So even if they don't read the rest of the package, there's this one-page summary just talking about everything, who we are, what we're looking for, what we can offer sponsors, and contact right at the end. But then, of course, in detail, more. This is just a collage of photos. Photos I find are very important for, I guess, just making it more readable. Long blocks of text tend to turn off sponsors, potential sponsors. Talking a bit about the team, some things by the numbers, different sponsor tiers that we have, benefits to sponsoring the team, as well as next steps. And in terms of showing you this, I don't think it's as useful. Like you can Google sponsorship packages, but one of the things that I brought here is let me get this, kind of like a generic sponsorship package. So this is kind of a template sponsorship package that any team can use. This is just through Google Slides. I use Google Slides a lot for graphic design just because almost everyone has access to Google Slides. If you're with one of many school boards in Ontario, there will be G Suite for Education. If you're a community team, you're able to get Google for not-for-profits, as well as personal Gmail accounts, of course, have access to Google Slides. So that's the other one that I wanted to share, which is this generic sponsorship package. So I've just taken a bunch of photos from different albums on the First Canada Flickr, two different fonts in terms of heading and body font, made up a fake team. That might be a real team very soon, 9999, and basically just put together like a very simple sponsorship package that kind of mimics ours. So then you're able to go ahead and file, make a copy, and make a copy for yourself and edit this as you see fit. I can talk a bit more about brand identity. I can talk about the sponsorship package if you want to look through it. If anyone has any questions specific to sponsorship package, I want this to be very much discussion based, not so much I'm talking to you for an hour, because that's the whole point of having these meetings. Otherwise, we could just record a video and I could just talk for an hour.
Hello. The question I have with regards to sponsorship packages, how do you find the companies that are actually going to buy into supporting teams? That's one of the biggest challenges that we have. We can give out packages of information, but actually have very little success at finding companies.
Okay. Yeah, so the three main avenues, I want to talk about that also. I have a lot here, so yeah, just feel free to ask the questions. I'm prepared for a lot of questions, and I kind of want to guide the presentation in that way. But yeah, three main ways I found to get sponsors are, one, of course, connections through parents, through mentors, through students, if it's, say, like their family doctor. Second, of course, is cold call. You could just put together a huge spreadsheet of local businesses, give them a call, get the name of a contact, send them the package. That I find has a very low rate of success, maybe 1%. But if you're looking for new sponsors and you've exhausted all your other options, that's definitely the second way to go about it. And then the third one is kind of getting discovered. I'm not exactly sure how to phrase it, but your team probably does outreach events. You're probably out at the community fairs. Maybe you're at a public library. There have been many cases of teams. I also want to call a team 2706. I'm not sure if they have a mentor here, but one of the things that sets their team apart is they must be at outreach events like every week or every 2 weeks. They're a community team, and so in terms of finding build space, they've had a lot of success finding build space just through those connections in the community. Just people seeing them at events. Maybe they have some space they can borrow for the upcoming season. And so the more you're getting your name and your brand out there, the more likely you are for people to approach you. But I want to focus more on the first two. just because those two are a lot more likely to happen for any team in Ontario. In terms of connections, and this kind of comes back to the team management thing. How many teams here are having meetings with the parents, regular meetings with the parents? This is something that we've been kind of lacking in for the first few seasons of our existence, but in this most recent season, we've made a point to have monthly parents meetings, and that's given us a lot more success, not really in terms of sponsorship, but our other main focus is finding build space as a community team, and we definitely found success with that. Someone has their hand up? I'm sharing my screen, so feel free to unmute.
Arjun, when you're saying meetings with parents, are you talking about the parents of the students, obviously, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How often are you doing these?
Monthly.
Yeah.
So I can talk about that. I have a whole section on that. Yeah, so as a community team, our fate is often kind of linked to how involved the parents are. We don't have a school to support us. We don't have well, a lot of the resources that school teams have, and you find that community teams are often very dependent on the involvement of the parents, and so they make more of an effort than, say, a school team to reach out to the parents to get them involved. That being said, I think any team can benefit from having parents involved. In terms of getting sponsors, in terms of I know a lot of teams will do say they'll have kind of parents making food for when the team is meeting late, things like that. So I can just take you through kind of the slides and the process of how we have parents meetings. Also, Mary, you have your hand up. Do you want to jump in here?
Sure. And sorry for joining me. Hi, everyone. 6140. Arjun, I guess I missed your introduction. Are your team members paying at all, contributing, making any contributions towards establishing your team?
Yeah, we have a membership fee also. So actually,
What's that look like for you though?
it's $250 for us. I know it varies by region. Teams like I know in Oakville and Ottawa, they're up to 300, 400. Alberta team, there's one that was charging 1,000, but that's of course transportational, and it really depends on the area you are, how much people are willing to pay, how much is sustainable for the team. We found that 250 works well for us where we are in Markham. But of course that's going to vary, and it also depends. I find community teams will charge a higher membership fee, just again because they don't have say funding from a school or school board. But I'm gonna take everyone through the parents meeting that we had, the first one actually that we had in this season, because I feel like that's going to answer a lot of questions about how we get the parents involved. So this is the first parents meeting of the year. We do these through Google Meet. Again, we're very much in the G Suite. And I think school teams would appreciate that just because they likely have G Suite for education, community teams who have Google for not-for-profits. And so we went through introductions. Let me make sure I'm on the slide. There we go. Showed a video to start, but going through introductions or student leadership, we have a core group of mentors who are kind of in the leadership of the team, in addition to our student leads. And then we have a lot of mentors who are in periodically, maybe they're virtual, helping with one or two different things. But that's as far as we go with introductions, what mentors do. And you'll notice that the last one there, sustaining the team kind of as a business entity for future seasons. That's the whole thing about mentor should be the person who's that be all end all in terms of sponsorship and maintaining sponsor relations, so on, so on. What the mentors do in terms of both mentorship and team administration. Talking a bit about the season, our timeline, how the build season goes down, some photos, competitions, talking about, because this is the first parents meeting, what FIRST has to offer in terms of experience and scholarships. But the financial update is the main thing I wanted to touch on. So we also publish monthly financials to the parents, to sponsors. I had originally thought this could be like kind of talking about accounting and bookkeeping and finance, but that can be saved for another time. The main thing I want to talk about is the budget and our projected fundraising. we find it's very important to communicate this to the parents, because then they can kind of understand the scope and the scale, and they can understand where they can help out if they have connections at work, or if they can help us out in other ways in terms of the budget. Because in addition to increasing revenues, the other way is to decrease expenses. Maybe they have a connection to a supplier who we can not necessarily like robot parts. Well, they're all robot parts, but not necessarily like Vex or Rev, but say like screws, because we had a parent this year who helped us get stainless steel long screws. They didn't need to be stainless steel, but very long screws that we had trouble sourcing. So things like that. And so, yeah, projected fundraising. Our membership fees accounted for 7,500 of our budget this year. Sponsorships that we could renew, basically like going back to old sponsors, speaking to them, 3,000 there. And so then we expressed to the parents that 2,750 is what we're looking for help fundraising new sponsorships. And so this is a main part of the parents meeting, just talking about the money that we need to sustain the team, how we plan to raise that money, how parents can help, and then basically equipping them with, oh yeah, and this is talking also more about the membership fees. We put a document together explaining how the membership fee works, what it pays for, when it's due. And also there's a program that we run, which is that if students are bringing in sponsorships, if they're the ones that are going out and getting those, they have opportunity to have their membership fee refunded. So those are the kinds of things we talk about in terms of budget and fundraising and membership fees. We didn't actually touch too much, or we didn't put a lot of emphasis into parents and students going out and getting monetary sponsorships, because our main focus at that time was build space, help with finding build space. Just talking about, I guess, what a build space is and what we're looking for. It can be anything really. And then basically sending them, we sent out minutes at the end also, but this is on the slides, having a slide presentation deck, having a team 2-pager that talks about our team and needing build space, and also a certificate of insurance, because as a community team, yeah, a lot of places want us to have liability insurance in case anything goes wrong. So that's kind of the whole communicating to parents our financial needs and sponsorship. And if we didn't have the whole build space section, if we already had build space secured for the season, we'd be pointing then to our sponsorship package and template sponsor emails, and what we can offer to different sponsors of the team. That kind of answer everything.
Mentions a lot of
I have a question, Arjun. This is Cheryl, 7712. When you talk about meeting monthly with the parents, are you meeting outside of the build season, like all year round? Is that your reference?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So our first one was actually in November. So yeah, starting off in the off season, having a successful off season is one of the key ways to, I guess, not exactly ensure, but increase the likelihood of success in the regular season. So we started meeting in November this year. Definitely we could have started meeting earlier. But also during the build season, we were having monthly meetings, updating the parents on progress with the robot. One of the main things we had was the first time going for an overnight event. So as we get further into the season, the tone and the priorities of these parents meetings change. But we made an effort to have them every month and for around an hour in the evening over Google Meet.
But like now, well, it's just off season.
Oh, no, not the post-season off season, like the preseason off season, yes.
Okay.
But we haven't had a meeting since we kind of had like a debrief parents meeting after our last competition at the end of March.
Thank
Hey,
you.
Arjun.
Yeah.
I'm just curious, in your parents meeting, who else do you generally have there? Like, who would be at the parents meetings? Would you have mentors as well, or just a lead mentor? Would there be any student representatives?
Yeah, so our leadership mentors, the 5 or 6 who are kind of involved in the day-to-day operations of the team, they'd all be there. Overall, it's an open meeting. Everyone's invited, but the main people who are speaking are those leadership mentors. We sometimes have student leads speak, but mainly the update meetings for parents are between the mentors who are helping to lead the team and the parents. But of course, this is open to everyone. Often we'll have students who are joining also. Sometimes they're just sitting with their parents at home, or sometimes they're joining from a different computer. Sometimes they're still at school finishing off an extracurricular activity. Really, everyone's invited. And I keep calling them parents meetings, but really they're team update meetings for everyone involved in the team. Students, parents, not sponsors, but yeah, mainly students, parents, and also mentors who maybe aren't so involved in the day-to-day operations of the team, just to see where the team is.
Awesome, thanks.
Yeah, hand up. Chris Bibick. Yeah.
Sure. I'll go next. I'm Christine Bibick from Team 4476, also a
Awesome.
community-based team. I just wanted to echo sort of some of the things you were saying. These are all obviously tried and true practices that have served us well as well. But I wanted to add into this that something else that we have done in the last 12 months only that we found surprisingly engaging and helpful to us along the same line is we've started a parent newsletter. So we've used MailChimp to do that. And during build season, we've kept parents up to date on a weekly basis.
You're taking.
Sorry, did somebody have a question? No? Okay. Anyway, during build season, we updated parents on a weekly basis, and our feedback from that was excellent. And it helped ensure that they were quite aware of where we were on our timeline, because as many of you know, you have these ambitious plans at the beginning of the season, and sometimes things happen and you can't quite meet those deadlines that you've set for yourselves. So it gave parents an idea of where we were at on that sort of scale of things too, because we found it more urgent to communicate that kind of detail during build season, and it helped the parents with their understanding as to why their students might be wanting to go to meetings or staying a little bit longer or going to more than they might usually in any given week. So it really helped on that front too, and got us into more of the nitty-gritty than we normally did. In the past, we've just sort of done periodic parent meetings. But this allowed us to really get a little bit more help when we needed it, because the sense of urgency or whatever was there, whether it be, you know, somebody thought they were going to bring a meal for a given night and they can't do it anymore, but it gave us an opportunity to make sure that we were communicating regularly and that they knew where we were on our timeline, whether we were ahead or behind, or why we were stressed, or you know, what we were waiting for, or what our challenges were. And I just found that I guess you can over communicate, but in a lot of these cases, like if we send out the information, it was up to parents, then they could read it when it worked for them, and it was really effective for us. So I just wanted to share that as something that's along the same vein that maybe could be expanded and adapted to other teams to be helpful too. So just sharing that.
Yeah, I think that's great. We actually had a parent who wanted to meet with a few mentors after the season, and we basically had like a half-hour discussion about how to get parents more engaged and involved in the team. And one of the things they said is you should have a WhatsApp group, so not necessarily MailChimp, but kind of having a group chat where all the parents can be, and then just sending out a weekly update in that group chat with things basically as you described, where we are with the build progress with the robot in terms of meals, because that's also something we want to start in this next season. And yeah, I think it's great that there's a team here that's tried it out and finds that it works, and we definitely want to try it out next season also. More frequent updates, kind of at a finer level than what we're doing with these update meetings.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yeah.
I think that's me. I guess the one thing that I kind of
Sorry, I think there's a bit of an echo on your end. No, your audio is not coming through very clear.
Better now?
A bit better.
Oh yeah, I'm a really cheap computer here.
There you go. Yeah, you're good now.
So the issue I have is that, for example, even if we were to charge membership fee, or more particular, parent gave the team a small amount of money, and $1,000, I think, or 2,000. And I don't know if they have no idea how much. I'm pretty sure they don't have any idea of how much FRC costs. And somehow they felt that they're like, it seems as if they would feel that they own a part of the team, or they're entitled. So do you have a form on your membership form, or do you have a form that kind of specifically lays out that, okay, if you're giving a team a charitable donation, that doesn't get you ownership of a part of the building or something? Or if a student say, okay, we have a membership fee, but that doesn't mean you get to automatically attend the competition or drive the robot. You're just contributing, do you have some kind of form like that, or some kind of legalese or something, say, to even to a sponsor, saying that you're making a charitable donation, you're not buying a piece of the farm or owning shares in this team or something?
No, we don't have anything like that. Well, we're a not-for-profit, and of course, your school team, we don't, we're also not registered as a charitable organization. Very few not-for-profit community teams are. They're just registered as not-for-profits. But I guess one of the main things is you have to make it clear that it's a contribution, it's a donation to the team. It's not like buying stake in the team. I guess that's something that could be communicated kind of in a newsletter. We haven't encountered any kind of issue with that. I'm not sure if any other teams have. If anyone else wants to share. In terms of membership fee, though, membership fee is a requirement to stay on the team when the competitive season starts. I know different teams would do it differently. Maybe they'll charge on a per competition basis. With us, our membership fee is if you want to be on the team, participate in the build season, go to competitions, then you have to pay the membership fee. That's like the basic requirement for being a member of our team. In terms of like parents giving donations out of pocket on top of the membership fee, we basically just treat them as sponsors. Their name as a sponsor, or maybe they have a company, a small business that they run. If they want that logo on all of our robot banner, so on, we do it that way. We also issue donation receipts, which is kind of another way that's hammering home that this is a donation and a contribution. It's not like you're buying shares in the team. So that's kind of what I have to say in terms of parents who might think they have like a share in the team now. That's not to say, however, that parents shouldn't be involved. In fact, parents should be very involved in the team, as Christine and I were both talking about. In terms of having like controlling interest in the team, though, never heard of anything like that, but it shouldn't be, I guess there shouldn't be that expectation. And that's kind of, I guess, a time when that parent needs to be talked down. But yeah, if anyone else wants to jump in.
Hi, this is Melanie from 7480.
yeah.
One of the ways that you can kind of combat that is actually have a handbook or a parent's guidebook that has clear expectations and clear expectations of how much it costs for the whole season, so they really understand that this is for the whole team as a unit, and this is not meant to be a buy-in for anything that's higher in the team itself or perceived as higher in the team.
Mm-hmm.
We
Yeah,
also,
go ahead.
Sorry, and also really iterating that being on any particular role can very easily, students can kind of perceive it as elite, where, if you're on the drive team, then somehow you've achieved something special. making sure that everybody feels inclusive in all of the roles, and that every role is valuable, like strategy, as well as programming and testing and electrical, knowing that they all have their place, because no robot would get to finals or anything if they didn't have all the components. So trying to make sure that they understand that there's not a status with that, even though it's very hard to do. It is, I just find it's important to keep those parents' expectations to that.
Arjun?
Yeah.
Can you comment on, you mentioned that while you charge, if the parents or the students bring in some form of donation or sponsorship, you refund the registration. Can you expand on that a bit more, please?
Yeah, so the first thing I'll do is I'll send the link. A lot of this is public release, so I'm just going to share the link here. So this is the actual fee policy. It's 3 pages if you want to look through that. But basically how it works is, so they pay their $250 membership fee, and that's good. If in the case where they're bringing in significant sponsorship before the membership fee is due, well, then they just don't get charged membership fee. But basically how it works is, they pay the $250 membership fee, and then say they bring in $250 also of donation. All the dollars after that are then refund back to the membership fee, back from the membership fee, basically. So it's not exactly linear. It's not like immediately dollar for dollar the membership fee is getting refunded. It's basically, there's a threshold. So they pay their $250 membership fee, they bring in $250 of sponsorship, and then every dollar after that is membership fee back. Meaning a student who pays their $250 membership fee and then gets $500 worth of sponsorship, they now have the entire $250 membership fee refunded to them. And so the way we've structured it, the reason we structured it this way is to kind of early in the season, building up the amount of money that we're raising. So even if students are bringing in small sponsorships, $50, $100, that's not immediately membership fee returned to them. And again, this whole structure that you work with is going to depend a lot on the students on the team, on the demographics of the area, on what people are willing to pay, how valuable your team is perceived to be as an extracurricular opportunity. That's one of the main things in Markham, because students are involved in a lot of extracurriculars, and one of the main things is they're trying to have competitive university applications. And so it depends on a lot of things, but this is one that we found works for us. We've been running with it since, I believe, 2020. We try to keep the membership fee lower than a lot of teams, just so that there's not too much pressure to bring in sponsorship. But also, if there's, say, a student who's really interested in helping with the business side of the team, getting sponsorships, then their membership fee is returned for the monetary contributions that they're helping to bring in.
How do you deal with the cost of competition itself, like travel and that sort of thing? Does that tie in at all with their sponsorship fundraising sort of thing, or is that equally shared among the team? Like, how does that? I find that I run a school team, and there are some kids that need more help than others. So I like to keep open books, but at some point I feel like I need to help some students more than others, and so to some extent, I need to conceal that. But I like the idea of students having an incentive to raise money. We're in Ottawa. We're an Ottawa-based team, so our travel costs are pretty high. By the time you've made it to 2 competitions, it's sort of $60,000 worth, or $40,000 worth of travel fees. So it ends up costing quite a bit, and I'm just curious if anybody else has a strategy for dealing with that.
For us, well, we're a GTA team. We haven't had to do a lot of long distance travel in the past. A lot of our travel boils down to carpools. Often parents are fine to help out with carpooling. This was the first time we went to an overnight event, Western University. The travel costs, we basically subsidized those as much as we could from sponsorships, and then the rest was basically put back to the parents. Different travel options, carpooling via rail, those are the 2 ones that we looked at. And yeah, it did end up being a bit more of an expense than just the original membership fee for the overnight event. But we made sure that the parents were aware of that. We had a parents meeting just for that, just to talk about Western. And yeah, and unfortunately, that's one of the things that goes back to the parents and the students in terms of cost. But the more that we get sponsors outside of membership fees, the more we're able to do things like subsidize the cost of travel. School teams, one of the things that I found with school teams is usually they're able to speak to in a few schools I've seen, they have SHSM, Specialist High School Skills Major, and so they're able to ask SHSM to subsidize the cost of a bus, which is able to lower travel costs overall. But I guess I want to say, as a GTA team, it's I don't have a lot of very good advice on travel costs, and so if someone else wants to jump in here, talking about travel cost, I think that would be great.
I see that Terry Fisher has hand up.
Yeah, so just a few comments on a few of the things people have mentioned. We're also a community team. We're fortunate. We are able to run out of the Google community space here in Kitchener. Google has in the past been a wonderful sponsor of ours, and they continue to be. We definitely have had to the need for a handbook. Google, being in a corporate space like Google, there's a lot of requirements that they place on the team, and the handbook, it makes it very clear up front what expectations are on the students and on the parents. We've been lucky so far that we have never had to charge a team fee. However, all of the travel costs, we put that as a responsibility of the parents, and we do that through an online store. Basically, we have the event packages, so students can request either 4 per room or 2 per room occupancy, or a game competition package, and they actually can pay for that all online. And we do have meetings before events to explain what is included in that fee, but that goes towards the transportation, hotel rooms, and food at the event. And that's worked out really, really well because it makes it easy to track, and it's something that doesn't take a lot of administration anymore.
Did you say you're a community-based team or school-based?
We used to be a school-based team, but we are now a community-based team.
Cool.
And when we were at the high school, we also ran into the issue with some students needing financial assistance. And in that case, the school itself would help out those students with their fees. So as a team, we didn't need to cover those extra fees or the help out the students. That came as assistance from the school itself.
Yeah, our situation is a little different than that, and our school board is starting to really clamp down from an equity standpoint, and they're likely to refuse any trip that's over a certain threshold of cost, in the idea that if everybody can't afford it, then nobody can go. So I'm just looking for ways, and I guess really in our case, it's just going to have to be sponsorship. We don't get any funding whatsoever from our school board, but we do get a free build space, so I can hardly complain about that. But I am mindful that we are in the same district as 2706, as Merge Robotics, and we are all competing for the same sponsors, and we don't want to, put each other out of business, as it were. We want to build something. So yeah, anyway, this is all really useful. I'm just trying to, navigate a way that makes sense for students where they pay their way, but I can't transfer too much cost or we're going to be denied permission to travel, of all things. But your online store seems pretty cool. I think parents might really find that transparent.
The online store has been a wonderful way to reduce the administration and make it clear what what parents are paying for. So
What platform do you put that on? Like,
we actually host our own webpage, and we use OpenCart. But we've thought initially we might just do it on Square Up, or the Square platform. We use the same platform for all of our team swag, t-shirts, sweatshirts, all that stuff as well.
We have several hands up here. Christine, Joel, and Melanie.
Yeah, I'll start first, seeing as my hand was up there first, I think, anyway. So Christine again from 4476, The Waffles. So as a community-based team, this probably isn't so helpful to early March, unfortunately, but I'll just share what we do. For our team, we stay out of the business of arranging hotels and transportation, etc. for our team. We leave that to the parents to look after. We found the major advantage of this is that lack of administration that we have, like that piece that we have to put in. So our bandwidth gets stretched pretty thin during build season, and coordinating hotels and transportation would just stress us out that much more. So we found it very helpful to basically offload that. I'm sure parents don't necessarily look at it that way, but to the parents, the advantage that gives us is an opportunity for parents to sort of carpool or work together. So oftentimes we'll have one family take a student from another family with them to our first event, and then the other family will reciprocate by taking their students and the other student to the second event, or that sort of thing. It also gives us an opportunity to allow people to tap into any local resources they may have. If they have family nearby that they can stay with, or a friend, it opens up opportunities for them to do that. What we do on our side, though, is we do book a hotel block, and we let everybody know about that hotel block. And so if they want to take advantage of that, they can. If they want to find their own alternatives, whether it be an Airbnb or a cheaper hotel or whatever closer hotel, they're welcome to do that as well. And knowing that probably our scouting meeting will be at the hotel block hotel, but they can make those choices, and then it gives them a lot of flexibility. And it's amazing how many people can find somewhere to stay that doesn't cost them anything. But once again, we have to rely on parents. So it's sort of a double-edged sword, because it's extra pressure and sort of one more thing that parents have to do. But on the flip side of that, we also make sure that we get those parents out to events where they actually see their students shining and see exactly the kind of skills that they've developed. So it's sort of got its pros and its cons. So just throwing that out there for consideration too.
Thank you, Christine. I see Joel.
Yes, I'm at 1325. We do things, a lot of things very similar to what Aaron said earlier. We don't meet with parents as much, but we use email to keep them informed. And every time they pick up their son or daughter, we always invite them to come in to see what's happening. We started off as a school team, and when Peel Board tried to shut us down, when they closed our school, the core mentors said, no, we have control, and we became a community team. And we went through our struggles finding sponsorship, and through a collaboration between mentors and students and parents, we eventually found one sponsor who connected to other sponsors, and we have some strong sponsors along with mentors, connections with mentors. When we travel if it's a short distance, we may ask students to carpool with other students and their parents. Sometimes we would also provide a bus a school bus, if we had a large group of students going just for the day. When it becomes big overnights, then we like to have the control because we're responsible for the students. So we arrange hotels. We went to Houston. The bus cost us $30,000. We were able to share it with another team, but still, it was quite an expensive endeavor.
Thank you very much, Joel. I see also Melanie has hand up.
Hi, so I would just add to what Christine was saying. A lot of that is very similar to what we do at 7480 Machine Mavericks. Two things that I do a little differently is I do put out a survey prior to our tournament season when we're finally know which ones we've actually going to be going to see ahead of time which parents are going to need assistance or don't need a hotel room. And then I do ask for parents to make that block, and they are on a Slack channel together as a parent group. And so they manage the food as well as the hotel space, but that block is considered the block that our team would go to. And if you find other arrangements, that's all the better. We also do accept that not necessarily all of our students can come to both tournaments because we do have to travel to both tournaments. So we, every time the tournament comes up, I make a list again with a survey to see who can actually attend which tournament. And that then creates my roles for what they'll be participating in doing at that tournament. So it does give a lot of flexibility for students to try different roles, but it also gives the parents a little bit of a breather to understand that I'm not requiring them to be at both tournaments. I'm asking that if they can, great. If they can't, then, you know, at least come to one, and then they're much more willing to do so. But those costs are on the parents. This also causes a little bit of creativity for the parents. They tend to figure out a way to feed everybody, which is great, and usually at a discounted cost. Maybe they'll bring stuff all together and divide it up. But the camaraderie that happens out of giving that back to the parents, we've found is really positive.
Thank you very much, Melanie. I see Arjun, you have unmuted. Maybe you might have some.
Yeah, I guess yeah, I'm really liking, I guess, hearing about these teams where the parents are very involved. I guess one of the things I want to ask is we do the monthly meetings, and we talk to parents, and sometimes parents will want to meet with the mentors and propose ideas. But teams like Waffles or 7480 Machine Mavericks, how are you communicating with the parents throughout the season? How are you getting them more involved? Because I guess one of the things on our team is yeah, the parents are involved. I guess they understand what's going on in the team, but we don't see them taking a lot of initiative, and I'm wondering if that's something we can do on our end to help them take initiative and help them understand how they can become as involved as parents on 4476 or 7480.
Yeah, I'll just jump in with 4476 here. I'm sure Melanie will follow suit, but I guess there's not one single approach that we use, because it takes sort of different you have to sort of meet them where they are, and different parents are in different places. Some are very into, technology and don't mind being on a Slack channel, and that's great. Others, that's a little too much for them. So we have to maybe do something more in person for those people. So it very much is a varied approach for us. One of the unique things that's happened with our group is the parents themselves, once we got enough of them and enough momentum going, things sort of took off on their own. So the parents now are planning their own social activities for just the parents, although mentors get invited too, and sometimes students, but like they've done trivia nights and things like that. So they've become much more of a team themselves. They're bonding. They're much like the students are bonding with one another, the parents are bonding with one another. And often that helps. The thing to be mindful of, though, is that as well-meaning as they may be, they maybe don't always have all of the information that they need to understand things fully. So it is good when we can combine those social activities with the mentors as well. So it's not just a group of parents coming up with this grand idea that we should charter our own plane or whatever grand scheme they have, so we can sort of, give them the lay of the land a little bit better, so that they can maybe understand where things are coming from. One of the challenges we had this year was with our events. We didn't get our first choices or our second choices for events. We were very, sort of towards the end of that. And a lot of parents just didn't understand that, and they were not, so it's just that communication again. It's like, and communicating in whatever means works for them. So whether it be talking to them at the end of a meeting, which is really effective, or even when they're dropping off their students, or whether it be, a personal email or a team sort of blast, anything along that line. So I think we sort of have to do like a shotgun approach, like where we're just sort of trying all kinds of different things, because we found that if we focus on one particular method of engaging them, we accidentally may leave some people out because they don't understand how that technology works, or they don't drop their student off, their student takes the bus or whatever. So, we have to sort of use a variety of different things, and including the students in that too, so that they can hopefully be sort of that pipeline of information to their parents too, although that's not always very effective. But anyway, that's what we do. I don't know if that's helpful, but that's our approach.
Just a little note. I had just a scheduled call here at 9 o'clock. I'm going to stay on the call. I just will be a little silent for a while, and please proceed with the meeting, and I'll be back in as soon as possible.
Those are great insights, Christine. That's awesome. Having that connection where parents are building that relationship with themselves is wonderful. That's wonderful that you have that community. A few things that we do is I tell parents right from the get-go that the first 15 minutes of any drop-off time is when we make any of our announcements. So anyone who doesn't want to navigate any of the apps, that they can just get the information right at the first 15 minutes. And then I give myself a good 15-20 minutes afterwards to answer any questions that parents might have, or I delegate it to another mentor if I'm trying to navigate something else. And then the second thing I do is when they register to be on the team, I do have the parents sign up for the general channel as well as the parent channel. And the parent channel is not an open channel, it's just for parents so that they feel comfortable being able to communicate together. And then they're allowed to, I show them all the different channels for the little sub teams. And so if they want to follow along with what's happening in those sub teams, sometimes they love to do that. And a lot of times you'll see them jump in and ask questions. And the mentors love that, love hearing the engagement of the parents and the students. Half the times the students answer the questions, which is great too. And then during build season, We have a weekly meeting. We try to do a quick stand-up, so we try to do nothing more than about a half hour once a week, where anyone can be on that call just to get an update, and we just go through each sub team of where they're at, where they're going, and then proceed from there. I hope that helps. That's just kind of what we do.
Before we move on, there is a question in the chat from Paul. When do teams meet? And I feel like that kind of plays into the structure of how you're giving these updates. Because our team, we meet on the weekends. We have very long, just weekend meetings. People can drop by maybe for 3-4 hours, Saturday, Sunday, sometimes Friday evening. And I think what you were saying with a stand-up or having parents come in during the first 15 minutes of every meeting, if they want updates, how frequent are you meeting and when are you meeting, and how does that work with the 15-minute updates?
Yeah, so we have a set Friday night meeting where it's a general meeting. Everyone has to be there. And then during build season, we have software tends to meet on a couple of days a week in alternate times to hardware. So they're not necessarily running at the same time. And then as the robot gets built, then they start combining their time. And so that Friday meeting once a week is that stand up, making sure that everybody is on the same page. And then also a second like Zoom call type situation where we're just giving a quick round robin kind of style of updates, because it does get pretty chaotic pretty quickly. So, and yeah, I mean, our students spend at least 3 times a week, 3 hours each. A lot of times it's more than that, as we all know. And because we're a community team, we do have the benefit of being able to stay later. So as long as there's 2 mentors that are willing to stay, the students can stay and keep working. So we try to be as flexible as we possibly can, but it does get tiring through the build season with that flexibility. So it has pros and cons to it.
Paul, you have your hand up. Did you want to? Yep.
Yeah, this is Paul, team 6854. As a mentor of a school team, one of the challenges that we have is getting the parents involved. It seems like the teams that have more success at financing and stuff like that seem to be more community teams. As a school team, we have our hands tied in so many ways. We're not allowed to use all the different chat platforms that are out there. We're only allowed to use board approved ones, which basically is Google, which is a pain. And parents aren't really involved because we do ours right after school, and you don't see the parents. Sending out emails to the parents doesn't seem to ever get any replies. So a lot of what I'm hearing is great options and great things. But we haven't had success at trying to get that parent engagement to create funding. And we have to, as teachers, we have to be responsible for the students. So we have to arrange the transportation. Most kids can't, well, it's not legal for the kids to drive other students. And the only ones that can drive are the ones that are in grade 12, which puts the other problem on the travel. Like last year, well, just pre-pandemic, we had 2 away travel costs, and that adds up. Every trip is over $10,000. So by the time you get the bus in there and everything. So that's the challenges that we have as a small team, is finding that funding and getting the parents involved and stuff. And then it ends up to be all the teachers, which is only a few, that actually do the work. And it's just too much, to be honest.
Mm-hmm. I think the link for a lot of teams and the next step up is kind of getting the parents involved, because that's done a lot of good for our team. And I think a lot of teams here who have got the parents involved in recent years will agree that's really helped their team in terms of operations, in terms of fundraising. And I used to be with a school board team back in grade 9 and 10, and I definitely saw a lot of the challenges that came from the bureaucracy and the different policy that they enacted. But I guess one thing is, are there avenues for parents to volunteer with the school, for them to go through the process, get a police check, get a background check, and be able to come into meetings, be able to, and I know that's a lot of extra overhead for them to do, but in terms of getting maybe a few committed parents involved, is that an avenue that you might be able to go through?
We've tried to do that. We've tried to have parents come in, but the problem is it's also school's over at 2:45. A lot of parents work till 5. So then team meetings, having them later doesn't work either, because then kids have to come back, and we haven't had success with that either. So it's just a matter of trying to get people that are available at the times, or maybe weekends are an option. But if we use the school on a weekend, like, yes, we have the facility, but then we have to pay for custodial cost. We can get in the school, but then it's at a cost to our team again, which is another bureaucracy of the school board. So that's why after school is the only time to run a team, because we have up till 6, 7 o'clock before we start getting into custodial cost. So,
oh yeah, Eleanor was saying in the chat about kind of a parents council, and the school I was at had a very strong music program. They did something like that, and I think you were talking about band also. And I don't know, music is probably they're very committed parents. They basically started something like the Friends of Markham Music. That's what the school was, Markham District Music. And they basically handled a lot of the things outside the school. They were a separate not-for-profit, and that way they were basically free of the school board's bureaucracy and so on. That might be an option. Sounds like Eleanor is planning on trying it out. But just a quick thing, and I don't want to hold up too much everyone else who has their hands up.
Hello?
Yeah.
This is Joel at 1325. We started off as a high school team. One mentor started the team, and 2, 3, 4 years after, he asked me to help out. So we had 2 teachers. And after about 4 years, we were completely exhausted. We would put in all these hours and we could only go so far. And we were meeting after school. Finally, we said the only way we're going to improve is to bring in the parents. And we had a big meeting with parents, and we set things up so that we had a group of parents running the show. And at that time, from then on, we had parents who wanted to join in as mentors. We started having meetings at starting at 6 o'clock, going to 10 at night when they would close the school down. And that's when our team really took off. Prior to that, we just couldn't put the time or the hours in to be successful. So that was the only way for us to develop and to become a successful team.
I'm just going to throw in another suggestion here. Christine again from Waffles 4476. Something else that our team does that might work for you is switching some of our meetings to an online sort of thing. So we sort of have a hybrid model. So some of our meetings take place just online, which means they may be more available to get parents involved if you're doing something like that. But I do want to encourage you just to keep trying different things because it is such a big boost to a team if you can get that parental support. And it isn't easy, and I understand what you're saying. I did start off with a school-based team as well prior to my just starting the Waffles, but you know, I had the flexibility with my job at the time to be able to go in after school. So that was a bonus there, but not everybody does. And I understand that. And once again, I understand you having to pay for, you know, weekend times for custodial staff and things of that nature. So all I want to say is just keep trying. If you can tap into some of those parents, maybe they'll have some ideas. It really just takes one really enthusiastic parent to make all the difference to a team, because if they take the initiative, they can often get things moving, because they don't have the other challenges of balancing out, team finances and building a robot. So they can focus on that singular piece for you. So just keep trying. I know it's not always easy, but it's worth it. And yeah, and if there's anything that we can do or I can do to help you, let me know. It's getting them to events helps too, because after they've done a season and they've seen the success and the joy and the learning that their students are having, they're usually more enthusiastic to support the following year. So that's a helpful piece too. So good luck to you.
Mary Charles Hills, 6140. I just want to say, I think it's great. I think it's the ideal situation, getting parents involved. What we all have to come to the realization of is that the world of robotics is not an equal playing field. Paul mentioned in terms of, having to pay for permits. So Paul, I can tell you what we do, and I guess maybe because we're able to work with our custodial staff and our principal, we're able to get, we have a Saturday school, the Tamil school that happens, I guess, between 9 and maybe 2 o'clock, or whatever basketball programs that are being run. So we are able to piggyback off of that. And so we are not paying for the weekends. So maybe that's an idea for you. Back to the not a level playing field. And I'll just give you an example. As hard as I try, it's really, really difficult depending on the community you're in. I mean, I've visited 7902 to pick up parts, and the kids are there and parents are walking in with food, whatever, on a weekend. It doesn't happen that way for every community. This weekend was a perfect example. We went to the Girls in STEM weekend. Students were supposed to get there on their own. Parents are supposed to be involved. It's on a Sunday. I was not going to go because I had other family commitments, but guess what? Coming down to the end, these parents are not, they're busy doing things. And I'm like, I'm busy as well on a Sunday. But at the end of the day, I know the benefits of the Girls in STEM weekend. And so another mentor and myself, we had to transport our students there. It doesn't always work, in terms of trying to get parents involved. And it's a really, really sad case when you compare Christine's team, what Melanie's team, what you're talking about in terms of parents. Of course, there's probably one parent or two parents who would show up and do things, but then the others, they're nowhere to be found. I mean, they're happy that their kids are involved, yes, but most of them are working to keep, the families going. So it's not the same for everybody. And so it becomes a bit disheartening. The amount of work, 1325, you're talking in terms of, yes, it becomes very exhausting as mentors, having to do it and not having the family, the support of parents. And, some tough decisions have to be made at the end of the day. So.
Sorry to interrupt. I'm just going to say, I totally hear you on that. And you're quite right. We are fortunate to have a couple of parents that are able to sort of pick up the slack sometimes for those that aren't able to do that, because we do have many families on our teams that struggle with a variety of things, economics or whatever, just things going on at home. So I totally hear you on that. And it is important that we consider those families and make sure that they are included and have that opportunity. So thank you for bringing that up. It's an excellent point.
I see Mary, Charles, and Greg also had hands up.
Hi, thanks. Just quickly, is just commenting on that thing about the parents and not getting involved and getting involved. I think it all comes down to enthusiastic parents. It's the ones that respect what the kids are doing and the ones that love what they're doing and they want to help out any way that they can. It's not something that you can force onto them. With our team, we're a school-based team. There's about 28 to 30 kids on the team. And I would say that we're lucky and at least half, if not maybe a little bit more, of those kids have very enthusiastic parents. My daughter joined the team this year and I came out to, I kind of got my feet wet a little bit and then came out to an event and literally was hooked. And now I'm like full bore, I'm all into it now. But that's my mentality. I know that there's parents out there that you're never going to turn, regardless of how many events you get them out to and how many times you have them on a chat or see them in person. So it is very tough. I don't know how you can sway them other than trying to get the kids to help get their parents more involved. But if a parent doesn't want to do it, you can't really force them into becoming more involved. And even if you do, then they're never going to have their heart into it. So I think that's just it. You either have the parents that want to help out or you don't, and you kind of get the luck of the draw. And maybe the thing is just trying to get more kids in. I think that's the thing. When you have a lot more kids that are in that program, yeah, it's going to cost you more to go to different places, but you're going to have a bigger pool of parents and everyone else that's going to help out too. That was it.
Thank you. I wonder if Mary Charles had a comment a few moments ago.
No, I thought I lowered my hand, Neil.
Oh, okay, good. Sorry.
Thanks. Thank you.
I think you're probably mixing her up with me again, Neil. William.
Saw it, but
this is Cheryl Lewis, 7712. As far as the parents, yes, we struggled for a number of years, but this year I am completely turned around with the support we've had from parents. One of them on the team there worked tirelessly, and we were just calculating how many hours were spent because we, as a community team, it's Saturdays, Sundays, and sometimes we had to meet during the week. But I think getting this year somehow was a bit of a turnaround year for a number of parents who are becoming more and more involved. The parents do meet ever so often. I think at the very beginning, what they didn't quite get was the sponsorship component. We don't charge because we don't want income insecurity to be a reason why students aren't on the team. And we've been struggling going back and forth about how we sustain the team. So we're still not there yet. We haven't found that sweet spot, but I think this year we've had an opportunity to turn parents around and they understand the benefits of robotics. They understand, the kids, how they've turned around. And once the kid is really, really involved in the whole process, it's, I think we see the parents getting involved. We try to encourage as much as possible. This year, it was just entirely parent-led. And I'm really, really pleased with where we are, but it's a process. I hear what Mary is saying. I remember Mary and I used to get together and boy, how do we get these parents involved? And this year was a turnaround year for us. And I think, the parents took care of the meals. They pooled, everybody had to contribute so much toward the meals. And that's one of the largest costs, one of the bigger costs, apart from parts, because we go all day Saturday from 10 till about 6 or later on. So that's 2 meals plus snacks, midday, mid-morning, mid-afternoon, and Sundays when we get in closer competition. So that's one of the biggest challenge. And then letting parents understand, meals went up, food cost is up, and they couldn't quite get the food budget as was given to them. So eventually that's what happens. You know, the parents took turns in either providing meals, or one parent was responsible for meals and ensuring that the meals were there, the meals were served at competition time, finding that space, you know. So I think there's quite a turnaround this year, and I'm really, really pleased about that. So what we are not there again is getting parents to help with the fundraising, or getting that fundraiser, or getting that sponsor to see us through. And that's all she wrote.
Yeah. So a few more hands are up there.
When Joel from 1325, when we were a school team, it was hard getting parents involved, and it was harder getting sponsorship. And unfortunately, we had to charge for student membership. One year we had 70 students on the team. About 35 were very consistent. But you have to make the jump. Now that you have parents, you have to make the jump to have them try and get you sponsors, so that you can then move to the next level. Because we found that if we didn't have the money to purchase the parts to make the robot, we couldn't compete. And unfortunately, FRC is expensive, and we found the school board was not very supportive because of the expense for that group of students. This last year as a community team, we had 38 student members. And I think our maximum is about 40. That's about all we can handle. But we went through all the steps that I hear you people talking about, with all the problems in a school system. And I can only say, you need to get, as some of you, or Cheryl said, you have to get the parents involved. And the next step is then to get some funding.
We also have Arjun and Melanie.
Yeah, I guess I kind of wanted to touch on getting parents involved, and I know Mary and Cheryl were talking about kind of like it's difficult getting parents involved. One thing I'll say from our end, just by the numbers, we have 40 students on the team, parents representing those 40 students. At these parents meetings that we had monthly, we maybe had a maximum of 15, like representation of 15 students. Some students, both their parents showed up. But in terms of parents who are actually involved in like helping the team at competitions, helping with carpooling, that's maybe 2 or 3. So what I will say, kind of, I guess, some consolation is you don't need to get all the parents involved of every student. But the main thing, and I think Greg was saying this also, is having more students on the team. If you can find like 1, 2, 3 parents who can really help out, who have the time, who have the energy to do so, that's a massive boost to your team. And so, well, not every parent is going to be able to help out. It's more just those 2 or 3 that are in the group of parents, kind of making them realize that they can help out, that they have the time to help out, that this is something that they want to volunteer their time towards. And that's, of course, one of the other major challenges, because if anyone's going to volunteer for anything, they have to realize the value of it, because there's no monetary value to it. They need to want to do it. And also I'll say that, yeah, going to competitions, calling parents to competitions, if you're a GTA team and there's competition in the GTA, really try to get the parents out there, because if they actually see competition, if they see what the students are doing, they see the robots on the field. Well, we had the most feedback from parents after our second competition, and that was because we had a few parents who came with us to Western and actually saw the competition, and those were the same parents who came back and really wanted to improve the team. So I definitely understand the challenges with getting parents involved, but at the same time, it's not like you need to get every single parent involved, but you need to try and hopefully pull out those 2 or 3 parents who can really help out the team. But yeah, that's kind of just my 2 cents on it. And again, a lot of the parent involvement, a lot of the teams that have been talking about parent involvement are community teams, and definitely I found that there's a lot of challenges with school board teams when I was on a school board team with getting parents involved. Oh yeah, and I wanted to also touch on that. The successful school teams I've seen have like members of the administration who are also very involved in the team. There's a team in Toronto, the principal was, I think, the head mentor or the lead mentor. And so then you have a member of the administration who's helping you jump through those bureaucratic hoops a little bit. They might be able to bend the rules a bit in your favor. Because yeah, definitely there's a lot of school board policy that discourages activities that cost a lot of money, that have high travel expenses. But if you can have an administrator who realizes the value of these programs, that's also going to help you out a lot with dealing with those bureaucratic issues.
So thank you, Arjun. I was going to suggest we have one more hand up from Melanie, and just given the time, it's been quite a rich discussion and we have recorded it. I'm sure there will also be time to outreach and continue individual discussions afterwards, but I was going to suggest we might wrap it up soon. And Melanie.
I was just going to say, I greatly appreciate Mary's point of view, and I really loved being able to see her for the morning. And I know that was such a hard thing to do, and I really appreciate you being there. I hear from other school teams how hard it is for like individual teachers to champion these things, and it really does. You hear as a community team, you hear a lot of parents and people helping, but it really does take a core group of people to make this function at all. And a lot of times when this is going on in schools, that support isn't there. And that is inherently where the need is. And so that's the difference is in the schools, I see they need more teachers and admin and principals to be involved in that process, to be that support like the parents are for our teams. But without that, that is a huge mountain to climb, and it's a really tough thing to do. So I absolutely applaud all the efforts that teachers put in to make this happen, because I think they're going through things that are a lot more challenging. We always kind of think that, you know, school teams, they're lucky because they have free space, and that's really not the case. There's always a lot of different challenges that every team is going through. And, you know, it'd be really great to see if there's a way to create a network of support for the teachers that are local and around that are doing the same thing. Because I'm sure, as Mary must feel, very isolated and alone, and that's just not a good way to go. That's just my points.
So much. Oh, sorry, someone was replying there. Thank you very much, everyone. It's been a really amazing evening of exchange of ideas. We will post this on our YouTube channel, and in the summer, we'll arrange some other meetings. Just to give you an update, I haven't scheduled any further meetings yet, although that's soon. For July, we're looking at some online meetings, much like we did last year. And we're probably going to do 1 or 2 sessions live at Studica and possibly other locations, depending on demand, for maybe the first 2 weeks of August. And this is further to the availability of space matched with the responses to our survey, where we have fairly similar requests from last year, including CAD, coding, fabrication, and of course, this team sustainability piece was the first one we did, as it was the most popular in our surveys. If you have any requests for additional topics, please let us know, and we'll arrange as many of these as possible throughout the season, from now until even into the build season. And it's really been appreciated, the community coming together to support each other. Really a great possibility when we all support each other. Actually, it's an interesting thing here. Eleanor has just posted in the chat, have we approached the provincial government? Actually, the provincial government is approaching us. I just got an invitation yesterday to work on that same grade 9 and 10 tech curriculum. And that's along with John and a bunch of others. We're on their list and we're being invited to their meetings and their announcements. And so there's a lot of possibility there. It's the middle part of the education system we really need to get to. Those that are between the Minister of Education and the teachers in the front lines, the principals, the superintendents. And as people have been inviting them to events, then we've been seeing really amazing doors opening. And so that will also help with your team's sustainability, whether it's a parent or a school official going to your event. I'm sure there will be a really great transformation there. And really a great thanks again. Thank you, Cheryl, for pointing out Arjun prepared a really excellent introduction to this topic and got us really talking. I don't know what you did, Arjun, but you just opened the conversation really well. Thank you.
I have one more thing to share. Sorry. What we did, what I think will probably help with parent involvement. I mean, at the end, when the parents went out to see the children perform, they got more and more engaged. But at the end of the session, we had a huge celebration, really formal event. We invited the MP, we invited city councillors. And when the parents saw what, the fact that we celebrated the kids, I think there was more interest. And also too from the municipal and federal part, having them see what is happening in the community. I think that really helps, and I think it will help with parental involvement as well.
Thank you very much. So I'm not sure if there are any other final comments, but thank you very much to everyone again. And we really look forward to seeing you in our future online and in-person sessions. And always welcome your feedback and suggestions for further development of our mentor sessions throughout the province of Ontario.
I guess actually one suggestion is I kind of came to this thinking it'd be like a lot about fundraising, a lot about sponsor relations, but the conversation's kind of gone towards how to get parents involved, how to work with the school or work through a school board to get parents involved. And I'm wondering if it's possible to have just a mentor session about that, just about getting parents more involved in the team, about kind of branching out the team to get school administrators involved. Not so much fundraising, but just like making the team more known to these different groups and through that being able to help out the team financially, operationally, things like that.
I think a side effect of that is good fundraising, isn't it? It makes for or more balanced, and there's more assistance to do the work, and then there's more advocacy in the school and then in the community. So that sounds great. I think that would be a great topic for maybe one of our July sessions. So well, thank you again to all, and we will see you all very soon. And hope you all have a great graduation season and celebrate your team's amazing achievements from this year.
Thanks, guys. Thanks, Arjun. Thanks, William.
Okay, until soon.
Take care.